Hold up.
Hey guys, it is Tristan with Nerdut's Newsstand, and as most of you probably know, I am a fan of comic books, but I am also a fan of great storytelling. I think there is a way in our world to tell amazing stories and pass them on to future generations. We have seen great stories from the past, like To Kill a Mockingbird and Moss, passed on to our current generation, and we were able to live vicariously through the main character. Now, there has been a lot of talk on this quote unquote woke ideas, and I want to give you my top 5 or so favorite woke stories. And these are actually stories that are phenomenal, but would be considered woke. Now, there are plenty of them out there. We could talk specifically about comic books. V for Vendetta, right? It is fascism versus anarchy. We could talk about God Loves, Man Kills, the X-Men storyline by Chris Claremont, or Hikatea, or the Green Lantern and Green Arrow crossover, Civil War, Ex Machina, Why the Last Man. I guess basically anything by Brian K. Vaughan, and I actually do have one on my list. But I want to talk about storytelling throughout different mediums. I want to talk more than comic books and show you that great storytelling can be done, even if it has woke elements to it. Now, I'm not going to necessarily include overtly political ones, like maybe 12 Years a Slave, but I am going to include more of the nerdy fandom. So let's get started. These are not an obvious infinite list, but I want to give you some really good examples. And then we'll do some great examples later on down the week of some pure escapist fantasy. So first off, I have a video game, and that is Detroit Become Human. Now, this is an amazing story centered around androids. Yeah, androids trying to get their basic rights. Rights they should have been given because they were created by man. Now, this is obviously a very woke property about simple things like civil and human rights, but it has at the very core of it a unique storytelling perspective through the eyes of very different protagonists, or they could become antagonists. And I absolutely love this game in general. It is definitely on my top 10 games ever created, and it is phenomenal. Long ago, I did play through it, and I did terrible on stream. I literally killed everyone on accident after playing it probably 4 or 5 times. It was ridiculous, but it is a fun game. It is a game that makes you think, and it is very, very woke. So another thing that I recently reviewed is Saga. Saga by Brian K. Vaughan is a very successful woke comic. There are quite a few of them out there, but I would say this is the top of the top. Anything by Brian K. Vaughan is going to be relatively political, but that doesn't make it bad. Look at stuff like Why the Last Man. We had a lot of controversy around that lately. Or Ex Machina, I'm sorry if I say it wrong, Machinima, about a failed superhero trying to become mayor. But Saga takes it to a whole new level. We see human rights oppressed, the oppressors becoming the oppressed. We see interracial, interspecial relationships. It's obviously fantasy, but it very much mimics our real life and what we are dealing with today. You even have an abortion planet. Like, come on. You know that's political, but the sales reflect how well this series does. And only for $2.99, I must add that in there because 55 did just come out, and I'll link the review in the cards. So next I have HBO Watchmen. And it is funny to look back at my videos on this because I reviewed each and every single episode. Oh boy. Yeah, they're so cringy. They're so cringy. It was at a point in my life where I really believed the bullshit. And honestly, looking back at this series, it is phenomenal. It talks about race relations, it talks about police brutality, and it talks about corruption at the highest level in a really great way. It was relatively successful, and Regina King did a phenomenal job in this lead. And honestly, coming, from somebody that was looking at it through a very anti-SJW lens, it still holds up today. I love HBO Watchmen. So next, we have, oh my God. Yeah, I had to put it on this list. Come on now. Give me a break. Wally. I love Wally. There is nothing greater than a story that doesn't need a whole lot of, exposition. We get a story through a robot on Earth picking up trash because we can't do it ourselves and we were too lazy to. It is a story about climate change and not taking care of what you have, and that going so far to lead to these people having to live off planet and essentially becoming little blobs that don't do anything for themselves. Everything became automatic when they were on these ships, and you get a weird love story, right? I love Wally. It's a phenomenal show for kids, and it's a good way to teach. We have to take care of what we have now because it may not be here tomorrow. And I love that. Pixar is a great animation studio. So finally, I have one that I have talked about more recently. Again, I will put it in the cards. And this is Arcane. Arcane, I was relatively standoffish about. It took me 6 solid episodes to realize the master craft in not only this animation, but in this storytelling. We have your typical shaved head, side of the hair of Vi that is a lesbian. We have your typical overpowered female, but we see her try and try again. And we see these very, anti-capitalistic themes about power corrupting absolutely. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And we saw those themes explored. Not only did we see that, but we saw the difference between different classes. And I really enjoyed Arcane. I would say it is probably going to be, when I do my end of the year list of the best, Arcane will still be on that list. It will hold up for years because it was relatively evergreen, but it still did a good job of empowering women, empowering family, a sisterly bond in that, and even a strong male, and talking about politics in a way that people could understand and determine for themselves what could happen and what could happen in a capitalistic society where you explore ideas that necessarily shouldn't be explored, talking about the magic, but it is phenomenal. So let me know, of course, what you guys think down below about your, what? I would venture to say, everybody try to give me their favorite woke storytelling, whether it is X-Men or it is Wonder Woman being a feminist. And if you love Bitch Planet, let me know down below. But I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.